Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Jodie King, and I'm just so grateful that you guys show up week after week for us because my team and I show up for you week after week to give you the very best informative content that we can. So let's jump into this episode. It's an exciting episode because I relate so well to it, and that is, how do you know or how do you go from being a hobbyist to a professional artist? And I have such respect for artists who are grappling with this decision because you really are standing at the precipice of something really different, something that would be available to you, but it doesn't come without fear. Right? It doesn't come without fear. Maybe are you good enough? It doesn't come without maybe some financial fears. But within all of that is so much passion and so much desire to get your art out there. So it can certainly be tricky. So in today's episode, we're going to walk through how you can know if you are ready to go from hobbyist to professional and what you can do to get there. So if you're ready, let's get messy. Okay, so how do you know if you are ready? How do you know if you are good enough to call yourself a professional artist? Well, guess what? You can do it if you want to do it. You don't need to be given some magical permission slip from a gallerist, from a designer, from your mother, from your best friend. You don't need a permission slip to do this. All you need is your own personal desire to continue to grow, to continue to develop your skills, and to stick with it. That's really the only permission slip you need. There was no day that I decided, okay, now I've been doing this for a while. Now it's time for me to turn this into profession. Now, for me, it was a bit more of an accident. You may have heard me tell this story before, but I had started painting just because I thought it would be a good idea for the year, it was on New Year's Day, and I thought it'd be something fun to do for the year, to just do something for me. So I started painting. And then after about a year, my home, my sweet little bungalow, little house that we had remodeled was on a Christmas tour of homes. And as people came through, there were two different women. One woman asked to buy a painting that I had done that was over the mantle, and another woman owned a gift store in town and asked if she could start carrying some of my work in her store. So it was a bit of an accident, but at the same time, when you hear this, you might be thinking, oh, well, you lucked out. Well, yeah, also, but I had continued to develop my skills. And so when that happened, I didn't say to myself, oh, well, I've only been painting a year and I'm not good enough yet, or I've only been painting for a year and, I'm not established and I don't know what I don't know. I just was like, fuck yeah, I'm in. I mean, you just gotta leap. And it is crazy. You take that first step and the road appears, right? So if you're thinking right now, if you're in your car listening to this, or you're on a walk, or maybe you're in your studio, wherever you are, if you're thinking right now, I'd kind of like to make a go of this. I'd kind of like to maybe see if I can turn this into a career. Don't wait. Don't wait for me. Don't wait for anybody to give you a permission slip to do it. Just do it. So let's say you decided to just do it. Now, here's the gut check. This is what I want you to ask yourself, because this is really what it's going to take. The gut check is, ask yourself, do I create regularly? I cannot emphasize enough how much creating regular art is important to your success. Just how important that is. The consistency of showing up every day is going to take you farther than any one class that you can take. That consistency is what is going to come through when you apply to a gallery, when you apply to an exhibition. People are going to be able to actually see that consistency. And I was just interviewing a highly successful art, like internationally successful artist. And he didn't pick up a paintbrush until a little bit later in life. And because he showed up consistently 5 days a week and really took it seriously, he had found his style and his signature within a year and had started to sell his work like at very high prices. So if you are right now saying, do I want to go from hobbyist to professional? Yeah. Do I show up consistently and treat this like a business? Maybe not. That's okay. But that is what it's going to take if you want to be a pro or to go pro. And when I was doing this more as a hobbyist, for years, that's what I did because I was raising kids and busy, and but I was still showing up. But I was really only like selling maybe one painting a month or one painting every other month. But I was like, I had that desire. I was really wanted to do it, but I was not showing up consistently. Anyway, I applied to this gallery, and the gallery owner was so kind in his response to me. And I say that because so many gallery owners just won't respond. But he was so kind, and he wrote back and he said, Jodie, I like your work and I like where you're going, but if I'm being honest, it looks like this is more of a hobby for you than a profession. And he continued to say, because you don't have a large enough body of work, and it like he could tell from the time frame that I had been painting that it hadn't been that long. So it may not seem obvious to you, but it will be obvious to professionals who are used to seeing larger bodies of work. And, maybe it's your website, or maybe you don't have a website. Maybe it's just on Artwork Archive, whatever it might be. But showing up consistently is going to be key. So that's the number one thing when we're talking about going from hobbyist to professional. Okay, the second thing is, are you ready to get uncomfortable in putting yourself out there? Because if you want to go pro, you're going to have to get uncomfortable, whether that's in applying and maybe getting rejected, or maybe it's in just being on social media. Are you ready? Are you ready to be uncomfortable? Because that's what it's going to take. Now, here's the good news. It's not going to be uncomfortable forever. When I first started getting on social media, it felt a little awkward. I remember, trying to film a video, and it took me forever just to film a video of me talking. And studies show that it takes an average, I think it's 17 or 18 times to film yourself on video before it's comfortable. So what I did was, once I knew that information, I just said, okay, so that's one. And then, I would delete it. All right, that's two. And so I whittled it down, and now I can be on video on social media super easily. And, I go on social media with no makeup, crazy hair, whatever, raccoons in my yard, whatever it might be. And so if you're worried that you have to be perfect to be able to show up on social media, don't do that. In fact, you're going to be much more relatable if you don't show up perfectly on social media, but you have to be willing to show up on social media. I'm sorry, I know you'll hear other people saying, it's about the work, artists don't need to worry about social media. That's all BS. If you look at what gallery owners are saying, and I talk to gallery owners, art consultants, designers, I talk to them all the time, and the number one thing they say is they are finding artists through social media. So if you're not on it, and I would recommend Instagram because, like TikTok is great, but people are not always looking for artists there, but they are looking for them on Instagram. So are you going to be comfortable with social media. If you're not, got to figure out a way to get comfortable. The second thing when you're thinking about going from hobbyist to professional is, are you willing to invest the hours in the business skills that you're going to need to get this done? So listen, an email list is imperative. You artists owning their email list is so important. And you might think, I don't have an email list. I don't know where to even start. That's okay. But are you willing to invest the time to figure it out? Because yes, we need to be on social media, but that's just rented ground. You know, the Instagram changed the algorithm today. And Instagram can change the algorithm at any time. I have a friend who, she put all of her eggs in the social media basket, and she was launching a program. And on that particular day, Instagram went down, and all of her plans were thwarted. So that's rented ground. Yes, it's important, but we also have to have our own list of our collectors or potential collectors. And that is our email list. And it's not always easy to figure out, but there's so many ways to do it. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to do the work that it takes to figure that out? And here's the thing, y'all, it's not that it's hard. It's just that you haven't done it before. It can be done, but you just have to put the time and effort into it. And there's other ways that you can go around it. Like you can contact, if you don't know how to set up an email list, of course, I Live and Breathe by ChatGPT. You could go there. You could go to YouTube. There are places like Fiverr that you can get technical support. If you have a college or a university in your town, you can reach out for somebody there to support you for a nominal fee. If you have a Gen Zer around you that understands technical language, go there. But there are ways to get it done. But are you willing to do that? Because if you are not willing to do those things, you're probably not ready to take that leap from hobbyist to professional. But I can tell you, if you push past that, if you push back past that reluctance, you can get there. It's not that you can't. It's just that you need to try. Okay, guys, real quick, while I've got to tell you about something really, really exciting, and that is the Honest Art Society. The Honest Art Society is my membership group where I'm able to finally offer artists all of the things that you've been asking for. So you get monthly training, you get coaching calls, you get monthly art critiques, there are guest speakers, there is studio hour where we'll paint together, and also you get exclusive discounts and offers, and you get to hear about things that happen first. All for only $47 a month. So I hope you will join me in this group with amazing artists as well. So go to the link in the show notes to find out more about the Honest Art Society. Okay, next thing to ask yourself on whether you're ready to go from hobbyist to professional. And that is, are you willing to stand in the value and the importance of your art? Let me say that again. Are you willing to stand in the value and the importance of your art? And I can tell you, if you're someone that just like, oh, it's no big deal, that little thing, I'm just going to give that away, I'm going to give that away, I'm going to give that away, you haven't yet tapped into the value of what you bring to the world. And you haven't yet tapped into the value of your art. This is no small thing. If you have been called to be an artist in this world, it's because something needs to be birthed through you. If you're being called to be an artist, it means that the world needs what you have to offer. Maybe not the whole world, but someone in the world needs what you have to offer. And standing in the value of what you bring to the world is imperative as a professional artist. And the reason is that people are going to come to you and they're going to ask you questions like, tell me about your work. Tell me about what this art means to you. So what does it mean for you to be an artist? Why? What is your why? Why do you paint? If you're not ready to stand in your own value, and you're not ready to stand in the value of your art and what it brings to the world, I would say just stay a hobbyist. Just because there is so much value in being a hobbyist. There is nothing wrong with being a hobbyist. In fact, there are study after studies showing about what it gives to us, what it does to our nervous system, the value that it brings to our brains, like our anxiety levels as a hobbyist. It has so much value. Do that. But when you are ready to stand in what it means to be a motherfucking artist, when you're ready to stand in that, that's when you know that you're ready to make that leap to become a professional. I had an appointment with a gallerist years and years ago, and I wasn't quite ready. I thought I was. I had the desire, I had the passion, but this was the piece that I was missing. And when I put this together, this was when my sales started taking off. So I went to this gallerist, I showed her my work, and she asked the question that I ask in, every art critique that we do in the Honest Art Society. I ask this at the beginning of every single person's art critique. She said, "Tell me about your work." And I said what the first thing that came to my mind, and it was true. I said, I really, I love painting, and I love color, and color makes me happy. And I just started this a few years ago, but I really love it. And so now, that's what I do is I paint. And that just wasn't enough. That is basically what every artist, if you're listening to this, you probably resonated with some of that story for yourself. That's not enough. I had to do the deeper work on my why. I had to do the deeper work on what I was bringing to the world, and I had to learn to value that. And when I became connected to my work at a deeper level, that is when the art sales started to come. And not only is it because I was connected, it's because my work deepened. It's because my work changed. I was willing to take more risks with my work because I knew it wasn't just about pretty colors. It was because I had something to say within that art. And when I got clear on that, that is what made all the difference. So within all of this, I hope you've heard that the key is, are you willing to treat this like a business? Because when you're a hobbyist, it's a lot of fun. It feels really great. We all love it. But making the leap between hobbyist to a professional means you really are going to have to treat this like a business. And that means the good and the bad. And years ago, I owned a wine bar. My former husband and I, we opened a wine bar. It was so cool. And this was before wine bars were a thing. This was the early 90s. So we were kind of ahead of the curve. Now, with that wine bar, what do you think were the best parts about owning a wine bar? Well, drinking wine, that didn't suck. Tasting all of the newest wines that are coming out and, sitting around and inviting your friends and drinking wine and then meeting the new people that came in. That was amazing, right? That's like us painting. That's that flow. It feels so good. No worries at all, right? But then I also had to clean the bathrooms. Right? I also had to do the dishes at the end of the day. I also had to sweep the floors. I also had to, if there was an invoice that wasn't being paid, I had to get in there and try to collect. Like all of those things, I had to treat it like a business. And that's the same thing with us. If you are ready to treat it like a business, then I would say go for it. So basically, if you've answered yes to yes, I'm willing to put in those creative hours consistently. If you've said yes, I'm willing to push past that fear and to make myself seen on social media and email, if you've said, yes, I'm willing to stand in the truth of who I am as an artist, if you've said yes to that, and if you've said yes to being willing to treat it like a business, then you're in the game. You're there. Just like go for it. Go get that because you're ready and you don't have to wait for permission from me. You don't have to wait for permission from anybody else, but work on those 4 things and you are already on your way to being a successful professional artist. Okay, thanks for joining us this week. Again, if you like what you hear, like what you see, please like and subscribe on YouTube or give us a rating on podcasts. All right, take good care of yourselves and each other. Peace out. Big announcement around here. I am announcing my final 2 workshops of 2025. One is in Santa Fe, New Mexico in July, and the other is here in Austin, Texas in October. And I know taking a workshop can feel vulnerable, it can feel scary, but it is truly the fastest way to level up your art. Plus, we just have a ball. So whether you are a beginner or you are a seasoned artist, this workshop will transform your art and leave you feeling like such a badass, knowing that you've got the skills to not only make honest art, but fine art. So one word of caution, if you're interested in joining me, and I hope you will, know that every workshop I have offered in the last 5 years has sold out within days. So I would love to paint with you, and if you'd like to learn more, head to the link in the show notes.